I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but my current camera setup, so the camera's up here, there's just like a stack of books under it, and every morning I can just see the stack of books leaning a bit more to one side. So yeah, that will really annoy some people with OCD, because you'll see like the camera level isn't exactly straight. Deal with it. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Morning Bible. It's wonderful to see you. I'm very excited about today's passage. It's a passage that I sort of knew anyway fairly well, but I went and had a read through the notes that are in my Bible, and they've been really helpful. They've given me loads of different interesting ways of thinking about it, which is quite cool. So if you are going through and reading your Bible yourself, I'd recommend finding a good sort of Bible companion to have with you. There's a website called Bible Hub that will give you sort of specific verse companions or companions for a chapter, and it'll give you a variety of them. I'd say maybe start with that if you don't want to buy any. But equally, I'm sure there are countless good ones out there. I'm just not sure what they are, really. So let's start reading today's passage. We are in Luke again, chapter 8. We're going from verse 26, and this is the story of Jesus healing a man with, my Bible says a demon. I think we should count this as a few demons, and you'll see why. So then they sailed to the country of Gerasenes. So you remember in the last story it ended with them on the boat and Jesus calming the storm. So this is a direct continuation of that. They're still on this boat. Then they sailed to the country of Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. When Jesus had stepped out on land, there met him a man from the city who had demons. So we've encountered demons before, we've got another demon story. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he had not lived in a house but among the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell down before him with a loud voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High? I beg you, do not torment me." For he had commanded the unclean spirits to come out of the man. For many a time it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demons out into the desert. So this is a really interesting little introduction to this person. We've seen a couple people possessed by demons before. They tend to be sort of social outcasts living on the outside. This man in particular takes this to an extreme. He lived with no clothes, so already that's a big red flag for this guy's got something bad going on. And he lived among the tombs, so he lived essentially in a graveyard. I don't know about you, but if there was a naked man walking around possessed by demons living in a graveyard, I wouldn't go anywhere near him. I would be very, I know that maybe I should, but I would be very, very hesitant to go and help that man, because that seems very scary and very troubling. But Jesus goes up to him, and it seems like Jesus initially commands the demons to come out of him, because it says, for he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. So Jesus comes and gives the first command for the spirit to come out of him, and the demon responds to that with, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High? I beg you, do not torment me." How crazy is that? So that we talked before how demons recognize who Jesus is, and so this is a clear example of that, where this demon says, "Jesus, Son of the Most High God." So immediately this demon knows who he is. Not just his name, not just that he's Jesus, not that he's been going around doing miracles, but that he is the Son of the Most High God. This is a demon who's like, oh yeah, the God who is in charge of everything I'm terrified of, this is Jesus, his son. And he's come to me. And the demon's scared that he's going to be tormented. He says, "I beg you, do not torment me." He doesn't want Jesus to torture him, to make him suffer, to make life difficult for him. This demon is terrified. We talked yesterday about the lamp, right? How the lamp shines light over the room and it exposes things that are in the darkness. And this is one example of, if you're seeing Jesus as this light and there's this dark demon, Jesus comes and exposes this demon, and this demon's just they're like, please, please leave me alone. Please don't torment me. I'm terrified of you. This demon recognizes him. So let's keep reading. Let's see how Jesus deals with this situation, what he does. Where was I? Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. So that's the classic line, "Legion, for we are many." So many demons. And they begged him not to command them to depart into the abyss. Now a large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. So the abyss, it mentions the abyss, that the demons are scared of going to that. There are several instances in the Bible. According to my notes, they are Matthew 25:41, 2 Peter 2:4, Revelations 2:30, and Matthew 8:30-34. Basically, you don't necessarily have to go and look up those passages unless you want to, but those passages all point to these demons being headed for the abyss ultimately. That's where Satan and that's where Satan's servants are going to end up. They're going to end up in this abyss. And so these demons are terrified of being sent there, and so they beg Jesus to instead let them go into the herd of pigs. And it's very interesting that Jesus gave them permission. So Jesus has control over these demons. They have to beg permission for Jesus to be able to lead into these pigs and run off the hill and drown. That's the power that Jesus has. That these demons, even though we see them as these huge, powerful, evil entities that we don't understand, that have control over all these different things, they still have to beg Jesus for permission, and Jesus grants it. He says, all right, go in those pigs and be gone. Get out of here. You're not welcome here anymore. And so let's see how everyone reacts to this, because we've seen how Jesus dealt with the situation. Now let's see what the people's reaction to Jesus' dealing with the situation is. From verse 34. When the herdsmen saw what had happened, they fled and told it in the city and in the country. Then people went out to see what had happened, and they came to Jesus and found the man from whom the demon had gone, sitting at Jesus' feet, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. And those who had seen it told them how the demon-possessed man had been healed. So first we see how this demon-possessed man has been changed by this experience. So one of the big things is that he's now clothed. The Bible talks a lot about being clothed with righteousness, how Jesus clothes us with righteousness. And so in this story, that is a physical thing. This man was naked in the graveyards, running around in the desert, in the wilderness, and Jesus gives him clothes. Jesus welcomes him in. So that's a physical example. But when it says clothed with righteousness, it means that Jesus makes us good. Jesus dresses us with these new clothes that show that we're good, that we're godly, that we're welcomed into God's presence, and that we've been made clean, we've been washed clean, and we no longer have shame, which is cool. And then he's in his right mind as well. So for the people in the town, they're going to see this and go, hang on a minute, this guy was crazy like 5 minutes ago. And now he's sat there perfectly normal, and he's talking, and he's in his right mind, and he's sitting down first off. Like, he's not running around, he's not hiding, he's not breaking out of these chains that they've been putting him in, he's not doing any of these stuff. He's sitting down with Jesus, and he's in his right mind. And so that visual change in how this guy is says everything, really. They don't need to have a big interview with how his life has changed, because we know just from those things and the big ways that he's been changed. And it says, those who had seen him told it to them how the demon-possessed man had been healed. In my notes it says healed can also be translated as saved, like this specific word healed can be translated to saved as well. So it isn't just oh, he's healed. It's he's been saved, he's been redeemed, he has been rescued. And that's really cool. And so how do all these people react? It says, then all the people in the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked him to depart from them, for they were seized with great fear. So Jesus got into the boat and returned. The man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, return to your home and declare how much God has done for you. And then he went away proclaiming throughout the whole city how much Jesus had done for him. So we see the people's reaction first. We see that they were seized with great fear. So we hear this a lot with Jesus' miracles. People will be seized with fear, but it will often be followed. People are seized with great fear and they worship God, right? So the fear is the interesting thing, because there's fear of God and then there's just fear, right? And so fear of God is when people end up worshipping. It's when they see something and they go, that's crazy, that's otherworldly, that's, powerful, that's huge, and they recognize the scale and the scope of the God that's in charge of them. And if you recognize that, then you're going to be afraid. He's a good God. He's he's not a God that we have to cower from, be scared of. He's not going to come down and just torment us. Jesus doesn't come to torment these demons. He doesn't come down to torment us because he loves us. But it's fear of recognizing the scale of God, the scope of God. And when you do that, you can't do anything but worship and pray. But these people, they see what's happened and they fear Jesus, and they tell him to get out. They tell him to be gone. They don't want him there. So why is that? Well, one of the ideas is that they're not Jewish people. So they have a herd of pigs. First off, Jewish people wouldn't eat pig because it goes against the Old Testament laws. So they wouldn't have had a herd of pigs. And so this is non-Jewish people. These are Gentile people. And so they wouldn't necessarily understand who Jesus is. They wouldn't know the context of Jesus' power. They wouldn't be worshipping the God that Jesus is the son of. They wouldn't have any of that understanding. And so their fear probably comes more from, this guy's just killed a bunch of our pigs. This guy's just done some mysterious black magic with the naked graveyard guy. This man's just come and done something weird, and we don't like it, and we want him out. We want things to get back to normal. We want to be able to, who's a goodie, who's a baddie, and not be interacting with this guy who was crazy before, and now he wants to be part of our community again. So that's just too much for them to handle, and so they say they want Jesus to leave. And that's often how the world reacts to things that happen with Jesus. There's the fear of God, and then there's just fear. And sometimes people just have that fear. And so Jesus does that. He does leave. He gets in his boat and he sails away. And the demon-possessed man says, please, can I come with you? I really want to be with you. And Jesus says, interestingly enough, he tells him not to. Because so often we see Jesus saying to people, put down everything you have and follow me, come with me. And a lot of the time they do it. We had the passage the other day about all of the women, like Mary Magdalene and I can't remember the other names, Susanna and someone else, and all these women who had laid down everything they had to follow him. So many times you see Jesus do that, and so he doesn't do that with this man. And why is that? Well, Jesus gives him a task to do. Jesus gives him a mission. He says, return to your home and declare how much God has done for you. So for this guy, following Jesus doesn't look like physically following Jesus. It doesn't look like physically being with him as he walks around, as he travels to these different places, supporting him. For this guy, following Jesus looks like going home. It looks like telling people in his home about Jesus, especially because we take it that this isn't a Jewish area, this is a Gentile area. So these people wouldn't know. These people wouldn't know about Jesus is God. These people wouldn't know about who Jesus was predicted to be. They wouldn't understand any of this. And so these people need him. And so they may reject Jesus, but they may welcome back the man who has been possessed by demons. And so Jesus sends him back because they rejected Jesus, Jesus sends someone else there instead. That's such a cool indication of how God works, that just because he may be rejected in one form, he can come back in another, and he'll keep knocking on that door and keep reaching out to people. Jesus doesn't get on the boat and abandon this group of Gentile people to their ways. He leaves someone with them to minister to them and to teach them. And just one last thing, which is really cool. Jesus' instruction to this man is to go and declare how much God has done for you. But the final verse says, he went throughout the whole city and said how much Jesus had done for him. And so it's just this beautiful, very simple illustration of God and Jesus are the same thing. Jesus says, tell these people what God has done for you, and the man tells them what Jesus has done for him, because those things are one and the same. It's a beautiful, beautiful encouragement that we have God who came down to earth and walked among us and did incredible things like this. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. That's a bit of a longer video, but I had a lot to say and I really love that passage. And I will see you all tomorrow. Much love, everyone.